Rod here. Welcome. Today I'm going to take you on a little tour of the inside of my Aliner Ranger 12. But first, before we get going with that, I would like to pan the area that I'm camped in so you can get a sense of the environment that I'm in. All right, just a quick pan around the area. It's a beautiful morning. There we are. I am the only blemish out here. So there we go. So now we're ready. Let's take a look inside. All right, here we go. Inside. Watch your step. Now, this little bamboo mat I put down, it did not come with the unit. Now this floor is really cheap, and I talked about cheap, I think, in the very first video about this that I made. It's very thin, and it kind of has come up in some areas, and I had some leftover flooring from when I put a floor in my home, but it's very, very heavy, and I just didn't want to add the weight. So we'll see how this holds up. There's very little walking around room, so where I do need to walk, I anticipate it's going to wear really quickly. And that's one of the reasons why I put this little bamboo thing down. It has pads, little pads underneath, and my hope is it would help the floor last a little bit longer. But straight ahead, you see the refrigerator. It works great. It's really nice. Now, it's right on the floor, so that means to load it and unload it, you have to either be upside down, bending over, or sitting on the floor, which I do sometimes. So, and that is one of the hallmarks of this unit, low, and I'll comment on that a little bit more as we move around. So let me step in, and there's a window. Nice windows. That's one of the things I like about it. A lot of light and a lot of ventilation. Now this window, as you can see, there's the bed. It's over the pillow. So this is the desert. It gets windy, which means there's a lot of dust. And for the most part, I leave that window closed because I really don't want a pillow full of dirt when it's bedtime. This is a counter, and on top of some cabinet storage right there. And so that's kind of nice. I put my phone up. It's my clock. I can see that. As you can see, I have chargers. There's my phone, some bear spray, and some other odds and ends that I keep there. And then right over here, that is 12-volt charging. So that'll take two USBs, and I have two USB cords plugged in. Not using them right now, but I just keep those plugged in for use as needed and as the battery will allow. Just an FYI, I will have an episode specifically on power. Now, one of the other things it has there, I don't know if you can see it, but it has a 12-volt right there that you would use just like a cigarette lighter in a car. So it does have an outlet for that. So that's all the 12-volt stuff. Let's take a look at the storage. The top storage here is just wide open. Now that on the left, that blue thing, that's a microwave. Yes, you can run a microwave. You just have to be very, very aware of the battery and where you are during the day in terms of recharging, etc. And you have to have the right inverter that accommodates the wattage of the microwave. So again, I'm going to go into that in more detail in another episode. But that's what I keep in there, and it takes up almost all the space. Now this bag right here, my rumple blanket goes into that. And so in transit, that is a pad. And you can see on the microwave, I've left a lot of the styrofoam in place so that it doesn't bang around loosely. And then when I put that blanket back in the bag, it's very secure in that, and it doesn't just fly around as I'm driving. And then this is a lip, so it's like a boat in that regard. Even if that microwave slid forward, it's going to stop on this lip and not just bang into the door and, fly out the door. Now, as you look at these, you can see hopefully you can see, there's a little bit of damage. And again, these aren't the most expensive cabinets, and that damage has happened in transit while driving. And it's just been kind of a learning curve for me to figure out how to pack to minimize damage. There's been some chipping in this handle, and again, that's from driving and things moving around as I have learned how to manage. And this has these plastic storage bins. So you put stuff in there. That's the bin where I have some spare parts for the trailer. I have odds and ends, and then down below I have all the paperwork. Again, these two are pretty cheap, and they're hard to slide, and a lot of times you have to use two hands because you have to get in each corner, otherwise they have a tendency to bend and flex, and I'm afraid they'll just break. But that is some handy storage there. And of course, if you wanted to, you could just take those out and not use them, and you would just have a wide open space. There is not tons of storage inside here, and that said, this is the underneath, and you can see I keep shoes and such there. On the left are the things I use in packing it up and getting it ready to go. A couple moving blankets, and I put things in trash bags, like the pillow. I'll put that in a trash bag. I have a tarp that I put over the bed for transit because I don't want dirt getting all over my blanket. And then behind the shoes are the panels. The fuse panel is on the left, and monitoring panels like for carbon monoxide, things like that are down below there. All right, coming up, this is what I use as the sleeping area. And again, this was one of the things I wanted. I wanted just a bed I could get into at night, and I did not want to have a bed sleeping area that doubled as a dinette, meaning every day, every night before I went to bed, I'd have to take down the dinette, assuming I'm using it, and make the bed, and then vice versa in the morning. I'd have to get up, take the bed apart, and put the dinette back. I wanted a separate sitting area and a separate sleeping area. So this, I put the pads, of course, that came with the sleeping area down. Whoops, sorry about that. Knocked the camera a little bit there. And then I put a topper over the top of that. And then it's just regular sheets. And that is a Pendleton wool blanket. That keeps me pretty warm. Sometimes, as you know, if you camp and spend times outdoors, it can get cold in the wee hours of the morning, like 3, 4 in the morning. It can be some of the coldest times. So that's happening out here. It's getting a little chilly, and if it wakes me up, that's my rumple blanket, and I just take that and pull that over the top, and that keeps me plenty warm. So this is made up all the time, of course, except for when I'm washing. It has this nice window above the sleeping area, and it's dark, it's sun protected. It does have a shade here, and I kind of prop it up because I really don't have any reason to lower that. And if you keep that window a little clean at night, you can look out it. That's how I have my head situated there. Okay, so let's roll around. And again, this is the kitchen area. And it's a nice big window. That window is open. And you can see there is a sink. The pile of drying dishes is on top of the 2-burner propane stove. I don't use this too often, but it has been the last couple trips out here. It's been really, really windy. And if you've ever tried to cook over propane or fire, when it's really windy, you'll know it's hard because your heat is virtually blowing away. So I have used it a couple of times when it's been really, really windy out. The sink is interesting because this goes up and down. Why does it do that? Well, look behind it. You see that hinge? Okay, remember this folds down. So you can't have anything sticking above that hinge when you're getting ready to go. So that folds down into a flat position, which enables the unit to collapse properly. And then you bring it up when you're going to use it. You know, it's funny, I saw a YouTube video that talked about how water from the sink splashes onto the bed, and the folks had arranged a plexiglass partition they put up here to keep that from happening. And lo and behold, that does happen, but it isn't a lot. You know, for my uses, it isn't that much, and it dries out really fast, so I don't worry about that. So that's really nice, a sink and water. Now, just an FYI, my choice. I've never been at a spot with a water hookup or electrical hookup or anything for that matter. And the water in the unit I only use to clean dishes, clean my hands, and use in the shower. I bring separate drinking water, and I filter that and blah, blah, blah. I do not drink the water out of this. So what that means, like you saw, I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I am in a wildlife refuge, and there's no water out here, but it means I will have plenty of water, and it's easy to manage. One disadvantage to this, and next time I take it in for service, I'm going to ask them about it, but there is no gauge for the water. So I never know how much water I have. I just have to kind of guess on my usage. Okay, now over on the side here, hopefully you can see this. This is the control. Hang on, let me get a better angle here. This is the control for the heater. And that runs off of propane, and of course the fan runs on the electric. And I've used that a few times when it's like in the 40s in the morning when I get up. You remember, one of the creature comforts I wanted was to not have to sit out in the freezing with coffee and food and me all getting cold really quickly. So I have used the heater a couple of times. Don't need it on this trip. It's been really nice in the morning. The only thing is the thermostat isn't exactly a high-end thermostat, so I have to get up and turn it off and on. I've not found the sweet spot where I can just leave it and it will be at a specific temperature. So that's kind of a drag, but again, I don't use it all that often. And then back here is the control for the AC. It does have an air conditioning. It works really well. We ran it when I bought it, and they were, you know, we go through everything. It's like buying a house just to make sure everything works. And it worked great, but that, of course, is something you can only use if you're on a hookup. So I've never used the AC in the field. This little vent is AC heat. Whee! And over here, behind my stuff, same here. And then, of course, right there, there's a vent for AC and heat. And you can kind of turn that and direct it which way you want it to go. There is some under-sink storage. Not much, but there is some. And stuff travels in there. Mounted on the side on the left, that is my digital leveling device, a battery gauge, and then your controls for the water heater. Does have a water heater, again runs on the propane, water pump, and then a couple of lights to let you know that there's a problem for the auxiliary, which will come on. Let's say you don't have enough water in the water heater, but you're trying to heat water. That will let you know. Well, also, you'll get a beep on that. And then refrigerator vent, I've never seen that go off, so I have no idea really what that is. So back behind here, you'll see that basket full of things. And that is actually, I took it out of my dishwasher because I never use it. You know, I am one, so it's not like I fill up a dishwasher with a family's worth of dishes. And I have some Band-Aids, brush, toothbrush, lotion, sunscreen, and various things like that. So that's really handy for keeping stuff out and not in a bag and enabling me to have easy access. I keep this for water at night, and then, like I said, I have some drying dishes there. All right, moving around this hook right here. Okay, that, I just bought that and I installed that because there's not a lot of place to hang things. And then keep in mind, everything has to come down when you're traveling. You can't just leave it up, like you can in a regular trailer. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this stuff, because I wanted to share some of the things that you have to keep in mind, and I'd be lying if I said I had all that in my head when I bought the unit. But I bought this little laundry arm and hung it up so that I would have a trash bag that was easy to get to. That little towel is my clean-off towel. If I'm not using the shower, I just get it wet and wipe myself off so it dries up there. So I mounted that, and then that swing arm goes in. It folds against the wall for travel. I don't have to take it off. Now, just an FYI, I wasn't sure how this was going to work. It mounts with regular mollies, plastic anchors. That's what it's designed for. And there's foam. It's like styrofoam in the walls. And so I wasn't sure if the anchors would break through the foam and actually anchor it in, and they didn't. So it's very loose on the wall, and I'm just going to monitor that, and if it comes off one day, then I'll have to figure out a plan B. All right, and then that's my sitting area. And yoo-hoo! I took the gray pads, because they were pretty ugly, and just covered them with these covers. Let me put I need a pillow for my back. But this is my sitting area, and this is looking into the dormer. And again, there's a window up there. It's open. You can see the mirror I have hanging there. And let's talk about how I arrange this. Yes, that is a coffee maker. So same rule as the microwave. I do have an inverter, and I can use this, and it needs to be, the wattage needs to be in the range that the inverter will handle, and that's another thing I wanted. As silly as it may sound, it takes a lot of propane sometimes to boil water for coffee, and it takes time. And you know how it is. You wake up, you're grumpy, you want coffee, right? And I really, really wanted to be able to run a coffee maker, so that's worked out really well. Okay, so let's take a look here at what I've done. Now this net right here, that came out of, believe it or not, Toyota Matrix. It came with it as cargo netting for the back. And all I do is loop it up on one side of the latch there, and then clip it to this that I'll talk about in just a minute. And what that is dirty clothes. I really don't like putting dirty clothes in with clean clothes at the end of a trip. And I used to do that back in the olden days. But that is where I put dirty clothes. And then I just ball it up, hook it together with the hooks that it's hanging from, and throw it in the car. Speaking of hanging, again, because this has to collapse, you have to figure out how to manage things while you're camping. And that's just what I wear to sleep in. And I just hooked them over one of the latches there on the side wall, and they just hang there and kind of air out. All right, so one of the nice things about the dormer is, as you can see, those red hooks, and I just found those at an RV store, and I just loop them over. They're not permanently connected or anything. They just, the other end, they're S-hooks. See, like this on the mirror. And that's all they're doing, is looped in behind the wall of the dormer. And the shelf is just a 6-foot. It works out perfect, right? I didn't have to cut it or anything. The shelf is just a 6-foot closet, wire closet shelf. And I got that at Lowe's. And this works out great, because I can see I have my little library box. I put my books in that when it's time to go. And I put clothes up there. And again, instead of having clothes strewn about, there's no closet, of course, in this thing. I can just pile them all up there. I hung a mirror from there, because sometimes I like to see the my hair or sunscreen or whatever. But that's how I gave myself some extra storage space. Now in the back, we have my library and a couple other things. Again, this is on the dormer. And so this has, you see a little lip area down in here. So you can kind of stick stuff in there. So you could use that whole length to kind of stick stuff in. And I have books and some other things there. Up above, I hung that little light. Now this does have lights. There's one of them right there over the dinette area. And there's the other one right there over the sleeping area. They are extremely bright. Of course, they also use unit battery. And my goal is to have enough battery to at least run the coffee maker in the morning. And of course, that's also going to be dependent on sun versus clouds, blah, blah, blah. But it's super bright. And unless there were like this raging storm and I wanted to be inside and read, I rarely use them. So I hung up that little light for ambient light in the dinette area. And then I have this little rechargeable right there that I read. And I read Kindle at night. So I have some books here. Those are my evening, morning, daytime, whatever books. And then at night before I go to bed, I read something on the Kindle. So that's a little ambient light there that I use right before I go to bed. Or if I need to get up in the middle of the night, I'll just click that thing on and do that. This, again, it's part of the closet organizer. You can buy that, and it's designed to hang right from there, so I can throw stuff on that. And then let's look at the table. All right, so the dinette table folds up. And this is one thing I want to talk about, is how low everything is. All right, so let's talk about lowness and the dinette. The dinette table folds up. It is not attached. And again, that's because everything has to be stored. And the good thing about that is that you can take it outside if you want. If you wanted to use it outside, you could do that, or leave it inside. So that's a part of how they set this up, was that if you were going to, say, have two beds, because this area will make into a bed also, and that's how you wanted it, and everything you were doing was happening outside, you could just take your folding table and put it outside. But I pointed out earlier the hinge. Okay, so that is where it folds. And what that means is everything here is really low. So this countertop is super low. Cooking on this and doing dishes, yeah, you don't want to spend a lot of time with this stuff because it's just too low. You're having to bend your back at a funny angle in order to use it. But it has to be low because it's got to fold. Well, the table was the same way. And sitting at the table and reading was getting really uncomfortable, or even eating. Sometimes I do eat inside and use the table. So what I did was I had to raise it. So I don't really like this arrangement because they're a little floppy, but basically that's a 2x2, raises the table 2 inches, and I just put a little clamp on the top, and then I use some Velcro ties just to secure it. And then I put furniture pads underneath so that I could slide it along the floor. And it works. The thing is, the wood pieces, they're not really secured to the legs, and you can't keep them on because it folds up. And those get in the way. It won't allow it to fold. But that was one thing I had to do because the table was just too low. So now it's at a much better height for reading and eating. It's much more comfortable. Now, as far as storage, here is another storage, and this is accessed from here as well as from outside. It's a continuous thing, and it runs underneath the bench. So you've got storage underneath the bench, and you've got the same on the other side. Obviously, to access that, you have to take anything you have sitting on it off but there is storage over there as well. If you're wondering what that white little step stool is, I use that for the fan. So this does have a fan, and it will either blow air in or suck air out. I have used it in a hotter environment to suck air out. And I've actually used it to blow down too and kind of cool things off. The problem is I can't reach the on-off switch or the dial with my height. So I had to have a little stool to stand on. And then I needed something to rest my feet on when I'm sitting in here. So that stool does double duty as that. Well, that's it for this episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed or found useful the little tour of the inside of my Aliner Ranger 12 and how I have it set up. I'm planning a couple more episodes specific to this unit. One is power, and for whatever reason, power is one of those subjects that I really enjoy. And then I'm going to share all the little problems and quirks that I have found with it. Now I've had it for just about a year. So I will share all that as well. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I will see you in the old outdoors. Thanks again.